Hi, and welcome again to my YouTube channel, The Intuitive Composer. This is part 2 in my tutorial series of how to get music from Reaper into MuseScore. The first part, I gave you all the basic tips and tricks using a simple example of how music can be translated from a digital audio workstation into a scoring program. And I gave the general methods. In this video, I'm going to show you how I do this with a real piece of written music. I've written a sort of tone poem called Winter. I have all the instrumentation in Reaper. It's performable in Reaper, and I'd like it to be played by an orchestra, so I will show you how I move things from Reaper into MuseScore. So let's begin. The order of service is as follows. The first thing you need to do after you've opened up the Reaper file that you want to translate into MuseScore is to open up a new score in MuseScore. And as it does that, it's going to say new score, and I'm going to go create from template, orchestral, symphony orchestra, done. And it's not titled, but it has all the instruments of the symphony there. And I'm going to save it, File, Save As, on my own computer. I have an older one there, so I'm going to call this Winter Score 2. Saved. I'm now opening up the Winter project. And if you really want to be on the safe side, you will scan that project and make sure you know where the time changes and the tempo changes are. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to look at this and say, okay, what do I want to do? And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I pick up one relatively simple instrument that I haven't had much trouble with. So let's just look at the flutes. And there they are. I'm going to click on both of them, hold the Alt key, and just drag the border of that down so that it gets big. And there's the flutes. And then if I just use the mouse wheel and scroll inwards, I see the whole project is on one screen. And now what I'm going to do is right-click and capture all of that MIDI information. And I can double-click on any one of these parts and it'll open everything. I'm going to go to the score icon over here, and I have two flutes. And we'll see what they are in a second. And they're all there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Notation, Export Music XML. And we're going to call it Winter Performance XML. We're going to call it Flutes, F-L-U-T-E-S. And that is going to be in, I'm going to create a new folder for it called Music XML. So we're going to go over here and go New Folder XML. So we're going to put them all there. And there it is, Flutes. And now I'm going to go to that folder, to the Winter project, which is on my D drive, Winter. And I'm going to look for the XML, and there it is, Flutes. And let's see what we have. So I have two lines, flute longs and flute shorts. I'm going to, you may not be able to see this because my head is in the way, but at the lower right-hand corner of MuseScore, there are some things you can change. And one of them, you go right-click on Page View and change that to Continuous View Horizontal. And then, because it's useful to do this as a general practice, I'm going to go to Format, Style, Measure Numbers, Every, and don't use the arrows because it recalculates the measure numbers every time you touch an arrow. Change the 5 to a 1 and click OK, and now you've got measure numbers everywhere. And this will have taken it up. You can see that the flute started bar 14. Let's go to the Reaper project, go back to the beginning of it, and where the flutes start, they start at 14. Very good. So now I'm going to go back to the MuseScore file. Sorry, wrong one, to this one. And these are shorts and these are longs. I'm going to go home, select everything on this line, select the first bar, go Shift Control End, and go Shift S, because those are shorts for staccatos. And now I'm going to merge the two lines. Go home, select this first measure in each staff, Shift Control End, go Tools, implode. Let's look and see what happened. Okay, so it put it into the second voicing. So I'm going to go first voicing. It takes out the staccatos, so I'm going to put them back in. Remember, only the old second voicings are still selected. I'm going to go Shift S, that puts the staccatos back in. And now I'm going to start over here. I'm going to go Shift Control End. I'm going to right click on any one of these little rests, select Similar in Range, and delete. And everything should be there. Those are all staccatos, those are all staccatos, those are all staccatos, and so on. And these are staccatos, and those are staccatos, everything. And now we're not staccato. And these are staccatos again. And at the end, it's and now we have the flutes. So I'm at the end. I'm going to click the last measure. Shift Control Home, Control C. Go to my symphonic score, the one that I opened up, and I'm going to put it in the flutes, flute 1 part. I'm going to go Control V. I'm going to go Page View, Continuous View Horizontal, and I'm going to look and see, because in Reaper, there should be tempo markings and time signature changes, and I know there are. So let's see if they happen, and they haven't. So that's where it gets useful to go into Reaper and just see where you got those changes. The beginning is 90 in 4/4. So let's go to our main score. Home, we're 4/4. We're going to put the tempo over here. We're going to go tempo, quarter note equals 90. And let's see where we have other changes. So I'm just going to take a look. We have a change over here to 110 and 3/4, and that is at bar 63. So let's add our measure numbers here. Format, Style, Measure Numbers, every one staff. Okay, let's go to measure 63. And at 63, we are in 3/4 time, so I'm going to change that to time signature 3/4. And we're at 150, so I'm just going to put that in over there. Oops, I've got to click on the rest. 150, we change the 80 to 150. Done. Now, if you don't do this, and you have triplets somewhere, and the triplets think you're in 4/4, but you're really in 3/4, you're going to have trouble doing all the copying. So this is preventive. Do this first. Let's go back to Reaper and see if there are any other time signature changes. I know there are, so we're just going to scroll through Reaper. And here we are at 123. No, it's still 150 at 4/4. And here we are at 177. There's a rallentando, and at 118, it's 110 again. So let's go Control Find 177. There we are. So we're going we said rallentando until 180. So 177. We're going to click text, I believe. No, let's go search for it over here. Rallentando, R-A-L. There we go. Stick it there. 77. Make it bigger. Grab it. Grab that little handle. Stretch. Oh, I won't take it. Grab this little handle. Stretch it out to 180. And at 180, the tempo is 110. Close this. Go to tempo. Quarter note equals 110. And let's see if there are any other changes in Reaper. Here we go. We're on 54/4. The 4/4 starts at 123. So let's go to 123. Control Find 123. Here we go. We're now 4/4. Time signature 4/4. And we're at 150. And that should be correct. So that's correct. All right, go home. So we've done the flutes. Home, make this all small. Go back to the beginning. Use the scroll wheel on your mouse to put it all back into one screen again. There we go. And let's do a more complicated one. Let's look at the violas. So I'm going to select the violas. I'm going to hold the Alt key. I'm going to drag them down. Sorry, I missed one. So there's another one here. Let's select all the violas. Hold the Alt key, drag it down so they're all bigger. I'm going to select all the items. Right-click, grab them all. Double-click on any one of them, and go to the score. And there are 4 staves for violas. I'm going to go right-click here, File, Export Notation, Music XML. We're going to call it VA, and we're putting it into the XML folder. Save. Now let's go to that XML folder. We no longer need this flute one. I can just close it without saving. I can always refer to it again and redo the problem. So let's go here, and now we have violas. And MuseScore is loading it, and it says there is a corruption in the file. Show the details. Incomplete measure, full score measure 108, staff 1. I found 49 out of 64 and expected 3-4. Let's open it anyway. That's a corrupted bar, and I'll show you how to fix that. So again, down in the lower right-hand corner, click the page view icon, go continuous view, format, style, measure numbers, every 1. Click the little button, go OK. And before I fix that bar, I'm just going to put in all the articulations. So these are the tremolos. Click the first measure, Shift Control End, go to the tremolos palette there, click the tremolos. These are shorts, Shift Control End, Shift S. These are pizzicato, they're actually colegno, so I'm going to go over there and call them colegno while I find them. This is colegno, so I'm going to put that over here. I never can find the colegno. I'm going to search for it. C-O-L-L colegno. Okay, and that's colegnos. And that's all, folks. Everything's there. So we're going to fix that bar afterwards. The first thing I'm going to do, you can do the merging. But because this is complicated and there are triplets and all kinds of funny things, there's another way you can do this. And I'm going to do this the long way. Instead of merging using the tools implode, I'm going to just copy the parts up to the first staff. So here are these tremolos. I'm going to collect those bars, Control C, put them there. I'm just going to go through these as we go. Here are the shorts. Going to take this bar all the way to the end of the shorts. Control C, go back to the beginning of that again. There we are, and put them over here. Control V, and keep scrolling along using the mouse wheel. And I'm going to select these shorts, and I'll worry about that one in a minute. I'm going to collect the shorts, Shift, so highlight all of those, Control C, Control V. And what I'm going to do is merge this bar because I'll probably want a couple of the violas to do a short note and a couple to start the long note. So I'm going to go Tools, Implode, and this time I want the 2 different voices, but I don't need the extra rests. So I'm going to right-click on one rest, similar in this range, delete. These are longs already, they're okay. Let's keep going. These are tremolos. Now, let's just listen to that. So let's remove the triplet because it's not meant to be a triplet, and I'll have to re-input that note. It's not an A, I never know what it is in the alto clef. So I'm going to take that triplet out, delete, and I'm just going to copy this note, Control C, and I'm going to have to change this to half notes. I'm going to go Control V. I'm going to put the tremolo sign on it, marking on that. There we go. Now we're going to merge just these 2 bars, then we'll copy the rest of them. Tools, Implode, and I'm going to get rid of these extra rests because I don't need them. And that looks just bloody awful. Let's not do that. There was what the original looked like. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to raise these notes up to there, and I'm going to make them a natural. So I'm duplicating what's down over there. I'm going to make these tremolos. I'm not going to worry about these two, and I'm just going to take the rest of these tremolos, shift. So you click the first bar, shift to the last bar, Control C, Control V, and I'm going to tie these notes, tie it, and we're going to forget about the divisi over there. Now here we go. That's okay. That's okay. This is incorrectly written. It should look like this, and I'll fix it when I get into the main score at another time. It's not important for now. That's okay. Here's the bad bar. We'll fix it last. Here's some more tremolos. I'm just going to Control C, Control V. And here's the colenos. So let's bring them up. All the way down to the end there. And to here. Not this last note. And I'm going to take that. And now we're going to Tools, Implode. Put them into voice 1. And we're, that's not worth the effort. Let's do this the hard. Let's do this with the hard way. It's actually the easy way. Let's go select them all. Go all the way down to the end. They can look prettier than this, and I can fix that at another time. There we are at the end. I don't want this note to be collineous. I'm only going to pick it up to here. Control C. Go back to the beginning of the collineos. And put them up over here. Control V. And there we go. And the collineos are correct. Now this is arco. It's no longer collenio, so I need to put that there. Go to Text. Arco. Done. These are more tremolos that have to come up there. I don't want to take this whole bar. I'm just going to take them. Click on the first measure. Click on the last note while holding the Shift key. Control C. Control V. It pastes. And these, click on the first measure. Scroll to the end. There is going to be a divisi here, so I'm just going to take this to there, Control C, put them here. Then I'm going to merge these two bars. Tools, Implode. That didn't work. We're just going to leave that one out. It's fine. And we're done. Now let's go back and fix that bad bar. So we don't need the next two staves, but I'm going to leave them there anyway because I'm going to want to keep them for reference for now. So let's go to that bad bar, which I believe is 108. There it is. Let's look at what happened. If I select these 4 notes, it also selects this last note. So that last note somehow is bound to these. If I select these 4 notes, I can get them. Click on the first, Shift, click on the second. And if I keep going, I can collect those. So I'm going to delete this bar, but before I delete it, I'm going to add a bar. So I'm going to go over here and go Insert a measure before the selection, 1 measure. And I'm going to change this to quarter notes. And I'm going to take these 2 beats worth and put them in the last 2 beats. Control C, Control V. And now if I try and take these 4 notes, I can't even select them. So I'm going to take the first 3 notes. I can select those. Control C and put them here on the first measure, the first beat. Control V, and then I just simply need to add this last note here, which is the same as this one. Control C, Control V, and that bar is correct. And now I'm going to delete this measure. Done, and it's fixed. And that's how you fix it. You have to remove that measure and copy and paste the stuff that you need without making the errors into a new measure. And that's how you deal with that kind of a timing measure. So now the violas are substantially correct. We're going to go home. First measure, Shift Control End, Control C, go to our symphonic staff, go to the violas, and put them in. And they're there. And that's basically the method. You export every instrument, each articulation in a different patch. So if I were to go back to Reaper and go back to the track list, if I wanted to do the first violins, I would select all the first violins, Click the Alt key, drag any one of these edge boxes down so it opens it up, and they're all there. You can see them. Make sure that the project is all visible on one screen. Right-click and drag the marquee over all the MIDI items in those for that instrument. Double-click on one of them. It should open them all with the correct stabs. There are 4 first violins. 1, 2, 3, 4. Legato, longs, shorts, and effects, which in this case are tremolos. I don't know why I use legatos and longs. They're not any different in a scoring program. And here they are. If I go back to the MIDI, I go right-click over here, File, Export as notation, Music XML, give it the name. This would be V1s, and so on. And then you go through that process of editing each of those XML files to get them all into one line with all the correct articulations. Copy that line over, and I'm going to do that for every other instrument in this musical piece, Winter. So actually, the V1s actually do have something instructive, so I'm going to show you this one. I'm going to do the File, Export, Notation. We're going to call this V1s. Here's my XML folder, and they're the V1s. And this time, we're going to go down here, Page View, Continuous View, Horizontal, Format, Style, Measure Numbers, every one, click it. Okay. And these are the effects. These are tremolos. So we're going to go to the tremolos palette, add the tremolos. These are shorts. First measure, Shift Control End, Shift S changes them all to shorts. These are the longs and the legatos. They should go onto one track easily. Shift Control End. I'm just going to implode them. Tools, implode. I'm going to change everything to part 1. I'm going to go select everything in that whole line. Shift End. Click on one of these green rests. Select, similar in this range, delete. And now let's go down and see what we have. And here's a problem. When you're imploding with triplets, it doesn't get the voices correct. So here's the simplest thing to do is, instead of trying to fix this, I'm just going to do the copy and paste from here. So I'm going to select this line, and these are the lines with triplets, Control C. If I try and just paste it here, it'll all try and paste it in the first voice. You can't do that. You got to take this out, delete, Control V, and it's fixed. Let's see where else it's made an error. Same story over here. I'm going to collect these lines, and all of these are triplets in them. Control C, and you can see this is 2 different voices in various positions. I'm going to take that out and go Control V. Anywhere. Oh, I did too much. We're going to take this, Control C. We're going to take these out, delete. See what happens when you paste over. Control V, that's good. Let's see if there's any other errors. Same story here. This. We will take all of that. Control C. And go all the way back to the beginning. Delete those. Control V. And same story here. Triplet bar. Control C. Delete. Control V. And we're good. And that's all good. So we no longer need this second longs line. I'm going to go I to show the instrument panel, and I'm going to remove the V1 longs by clicking the delete icon. Okay, now we got the shorts. So we're going to implode the shorts. I think let's try that. Select the first measure of each of the first 2 staffs. Shift Control End. Tools, implode. Let's go to the shorts. We're going to go put them into the first part. Shift S to change them to staccato. Click the first bar there. Shift Control End. Click any of these funny rests. Select similar in range. Delete. And there shouldn't be any errors. We're good all the way through. We're good all the way through. And again, we have triplets. So we're going to take these triplets. See, this was all stayed in the second voice. Now I could flip these voices. You can go Tools, Voices, Exchange Voices 1 and 2, and then you can take that rest out. And we could do that. So that bar is done. This bar, I can just simply click this, Control C, click this bar, delete, Control V, accomplishes the same thing. I think it's safer to do it the second way, but let's just do them, and let's do all of these by changing the voices. We'll run all the way down there to here. Tools, Exchange Voices 1 and 2, and then select any of these green rests, select Similar in Range, delete, and we're all in voice 1, and that's okay. So as an aside, and by way of example, I'm going to show you how well the Music XML export managed the triplets. I'm going to show you the MIDI export and show you what the difference is. If I go over, let's go over to the Music XML file, and you see all those triplets are correct. But if I go over to the MIDI file, because I did the export as a MIDI just for fun, and if you look over here, all those triplets are incorrect. They completely got garbled over here. Now, why should that be? Let's go to the patch in Reaper, and that's over here. I'm going to double click it. And you can see that the Reaper is showing it as triplets. But if I look at the MIDI information here, you can see also that it's not quantized. It's not lined up. I'm going to change this grid to 1/16 triplets just so you can see. And even at the 1/16 triplets, it's off. And if I were to quantize this, then the MIDI export would work a little bit better. But Music XML is smart enough to quantize this on its own, so you don't need to do as much work in Reaper, but to use the Music XML. You could either quantize this by doing Control A, Q for quantize, make sure your grid is set to the notes and the fact that it's triplets, cancel, or you can try and do this by doing Control A. If you right click up over here, you can get the edit menu, and there is join notes and set note ends to start at next note, legato, and that's another way to do it. Quantizing is the better way though, and so that's what I would suggest. So that's done. So we've got the shorts, and are there any more shorts? There are no more shorts. We're done. We can now go I and get rid of the shorts staff. Okay, let's go home. And we're going to put up the tremolos, and let's make sure there's no funny overlaps. Here are the tremolos. So this is, collect this bar and all the way to there. Control C, Control V. We could try to do this as an implode, but it's not worth the effort. Those are the only tremolos. That's it. And we're done. Last bar, Shift Control Home, Control C, go to the main staff and put that down into the violins one. And that's how you do it, folks. And I'm going to do that for every other instrument in this musical piece, Winter. And if I find something that I haven't come across before, I will make a new video and show you that. But the next time we come back, I'm going to have all of these parts filled in. So that's how you get your digital information from a performance in Reaper into a written score in MuseScore. You do it one instrument at a time and combine all the different articulations into one line for each instrument section. There are inevitable problems, as I said, and you will probably find some of your own and find your own workarounds. If you do, please post something as a comment to this video. And I will show you then the next bit as to how to manipulate this piece in MuseScore so that it sounds and looks correct so that real musicians can play it. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.